Somehow something popped up. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me. I am Andy with Integrity Data Insights, and I'm joined today with Tiffany CV, who is the Chief Marketing Officer at Paycor. So thank you so much for joining us, Tiffany.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Make sure it's working. Apologize if there's like a delay. Okay. Yeah, so let's jump right in. So tell us, a lot of people in Southwest Ohio, we're both kind of in that area, but are familiar with Paycor, and obviously the Bengal Stadium's named that. But maybe tell us what Paycor is for some people to join in that maybe don't know as much about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are an HCM payroll and HR company. So HCM stands for Human Capital Management. And our mission statement is really how we are empowering leaders to connect to their people, the data, and their expertise. And so what that means is essentially we provide HR, payroll, and talent management services to business owners and HR leaders so they can manage all of their associates. So they use our services through the entire employee life cycle. So everything from recruiting to onboarding new employees through time tracking, of course, paying their employees, as well as our development plans, compensation, and benefit programs. We've been in business for almost 35 years. Yes, our headquarters are here in Cincinnati, actually in Norwood, but we actually have 50,000 customers all over the country across all 50 states. And actually all of our associates are virtual as well since COVID hit. So it's been a really good transition for us to really experience this virtual environment.
Yeah, we're just talking about that. It's got to be different. I remember I've been to the other location before, at least one time, I think. So it's a nice area. So do you guys provide? I know it's mostly software based, but are there people like you have people that help the companies too? Like you provide people to help manage, and like if I'm a business owner and I don't know how to do payroll and then this and that, I'm guessing it's kind of a combination of software and people that you kind of bring in. Is that right?
Yes, it's definitely more on the software side, but we do have opportunities that can help process payroll for companies. But we really are providing services that allow HR leaders and admins to be able to have all the information they need. We have, direct training opportunities for them to really learn how they can access it, and it's really user friendly. So once you run through the training and implementation of the products, we find that our users find it really easy to use. And of course, they're in that software every single day managing their associates.
Right. Well, that's great because I remember, we both worked at a big company before, and there's a lot that goes involved that you take for granted that just happens. So I'm sure you guys add a
Yeah.
ton of value to that.
Yeah, we also have a mobile app that all of the associates can use, and so it's really easy. You can go and get your W-2s. You can see your paychecks. You can request time off. You can even recognize another associate all in the app. So it's definitely easy both for the HR leaders and business owners to use and process payroll and time and benefits and things, but also for any associate that their company uses Paycor as well.
That's great. So I understand like you were kind of with the company when it became public. Maybe just share what that journey's like, and is it different now than it was before it was public, and any insights you have on that would be great.
Yeah, I've been at Paycor almost 11 years, and we went public in July of 2021. And gosh, leading up to it, it was definitely something that we were talking about for a long time. It was like, okay, in the next 12 months, the next 18 months. So it was really surreal when it did happen. A really exciting time. Leading up to it, there was definitely a cross-functional team that prepared all the information and materials. And then I was really honored to be a part of the team that actually went to New York City at NASDAQ. You
Oh,
don't ring
cool.
a bell with NASDAQ, you push a button, but a huge celebration and a great opportunity to really be a part of that. And really from a marketing perspective, it's been incredible. The experience standing in Times Square and seeing the advertising and the branding and your company's name and lights, all along the buildings in Times
Oh,
Square
cool.
was just an amazing experience. And then even since then, over these last 3 years or so, it's been a really smooth process for us internally. It's been a huge step forward for our company. So, definitely helping us from a reputation, a brand perspective, and a big presence in the market as well.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, my family loves it in New York. We try to visit quite a bit, so
Yeah.
that would be impressive seeing that on those big, gigantic, whatever they're called, yeah, you know what
Yes.
I'm talking about. So,
Yes. I
oh,
mean, the
that's
giant
exciting. So it's like,
screens.
so maybe just walk us through, like, you're the chief marketing officer. What's a kind of a typical day like? Maybe, I sound like a kindergartner asking a little bit, but maybe just give us a little flavor for what the job is like and kind of what it entails.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have about 50 people on the marketing team here at Paycor, and it's really a lot of connections with the team to ensure that they're staying on track with our key objectives and our key strategies. I have four direct reports, so four kind of teams that are all managed, and it's really important that I'm staying connected with that leadership team. We're talking about ongoing projects. I want to make sure I'm removing any roadblocks for them. And then just aligning on goals. We have daily goals, weekly goals when it comes to all of our programs and metrics, monthly goals, quarterly goals. And so we want to make sure that we are connected as well from a team perspective. Every week, we also bring the whole team together in a 1 hour meeting on Mondays. As I mentioned, we're virtual. We do always have our camera on, so we're still looking at each other through Zoom, of course. But every Monday, I bring the team together, and it's not just a time for me to speak at them and share announcements. It's really a time where I'm asking everyone to kind of lean in and to share across the marketing team. We always start out with a little bit of an icebreaker and small breakout groups so that we can get to know each other a little bit better. And that always builds some strong connections. But then we're asking each of the individuals to share some updates on some of the projects that they're working with or programs. It helps connect dots across the team, and it just helps, create a strong culture internally. Additionally, from my role, I work a lot with cross-functional partners in other departments. Of course, really close relationship with the sales team, with the product team, our customer service team, finance team, HR. So a lot of connections with my peers and with other departments. We have holistic company goals, and then we have, objectives from marketing perspective that line up to those. And so a lot of conversations about progress and how we are, driving towards those big goals.
Wow,
And
that's
then from a
impressive. Yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
I was just gonna say from a marketing perspective, the last thing I'll share is that, we also have like a focus on three key strategies in marketing. And that really includes first building brand awareness. So how do we really drive more people to understand who Paycor is? So if they are shopping for a new payroll or HR provider, we are top of mind. The second one is really how do we drive demand generation and drive leads for our sales team? We use lots of different channels to do that. We, of course, have inbound and SEO through Google and other search providers. We do paid third-party leads, emails, direct mails, events, webinars, and then we are qualifying and scoring each of those leads before we pass them over to the sales team. And then we're really following through and helping to convert those deals to close. And then once they become a customer, we're continuing to engage with them. And really, that third strategy is how do we communicate and empower our customers to really realize the full benefits of our services and of our products. And really building a community within our customers too. We do user groups, we do events, we do an annual conference, and so really a great chance for us to continue to promote and support these prospects and customers throughout their entire journey with Paycor as well.
Right, that's amazing. Is it, it's gotta be kind of, there's so many different aspects of it, I guess, and maybe that's, a good segue to our next question, like, so talk about, like, I know you and I both kinda worked maybe in a more of a centralized marketing and non-centralized marketing. Maybe kinda walk us through kinda some of the differences between those 2 types and maybe elaborate on how Paycor's set up.
Yeah, I get this question all the time. Like, should you centralize marketing under one leader, or do you have it kind of separate or more of like a hybrid or matrixed environment? Yes. Previously, the company I worked with was more of more like a decentralized team where the marketing teams report up through the business units, right? So you would have like a small market marketing team that reports up through the small market general manager. Maybe they have small market sales, small market service that reports under them. Separately, you might have a large market or an up market in a similar structure. I think from a pro perspective of that, you can really tailor your campaigns, excuse me, specific
Yeah.
to the markets, making them more relevant and effective. And it's, you can test quickly, you can adapt quickly. However, I think there's some challenges with that. It's really hard to have consistent branding. It's really hard to, have scale when it comes to resources. It's more expensive typically because you might have duplicate efforts or duplicate processes or even resources across the different teams. And then, sometimes it's challenging because people are doing different things under different priorities. So at Paycor, we actually have a centralized marketing team. The whole team, rolls up under me, and then really connecting across the organization. And so, of course, I would prefer this, and that's part of it. But I think it's really helped unify the marketing team. I think it's opened up more doors from a career development perspective for my team. So many people have, come in as one role and maybe in digital, and then shifted over to, product marketing or customer marketing or partner marketing. And it's been a great opportunity for them to kind of see all of the different opportunities and, shift lateral or, promotion opportunities as far as development goes. It's been really easy for us to have consistent branding, messaging, visual relation of how we want to talk about our products and our brand identity. It's also helped us scale from a resource perspective. Sometimes certain teams are busier than others based on the seasonality or the type of year. And so it's really helped us adjust priorities if needed. And then finally, I think it's so much easier when you have kind of one holistic strategy, one holistic prioritization process. And that way, you're much more centralized in your overall processes and actions towards those strategies too.
Yeah, thanks. That's great insights. Yeah, that's I've definitely experienced both sides of it. I think you hit the nail on the head with the benefits of both of those.
Yeah.
One thing just out of my curiosity, so how in advance, like, so when you're, you have all these, it sounds like, it's really good that you guys are tied to very strong metrics and strong, objectives. Like, if somebody kind of has an idea, well, I really think we should run this kind of campaign or whatever, is it, maybe walk us through the process of, like,
Yeah.
how much time is it, or how does it, is there any flexibility in it, or is like, well, that's not going to happen till next year, or um
Yeah, so we have a pretty robust kind of planning schedule. We try to plan quarterly, and we try to really plan in advance as much as possible to ensure that we have like a consistent, resource allocation and processes. So for example, we right now are actually planning for our January, February, March quarter, and really focusing in on what are the key, opportunities that we want to make sure we have in market in that quarter. And so what we'll do is we'll have the different program managers and marketing. They will submit what we call creative briefs to our in-house creative services team. They will connect and have kickoff meetings about the project, and then they'll essentially assign a content writer, a designer, a project manager to really see that through. So I think, probably 60 to 70% of our projects are usually planned a few months in advance to make sure that we are, strategic around that execution. That's not to say though that we can't, turn things around really quickly. Something happens quickly, or our
yeah.
campaign needs to roll in the next 2 to 3 days. We can also make that work. But I found that having more of a consistent project plan allows for those short-term, urgent requests easier to come through if you have that organized schedule and a quarterly planning process too.
That's great. So let's talk about, shift gears a little bit to sports sponsorship. So
Okay.
obviously, those of us down in this area, we know that the stadium's named Paycor Stadium now. I guess first, let's start with that. I mean, how involved were you? And I'd love just any insight you have on how does that go? Is there
Yeah.
like a bunch of back and forth, or is it pretty much like kind of what it is going into it, or any insights you have would be great.
Yeah, super proud about the naming rights for Paycor Stadium. The Bengals has been a customer of Paycor for years, and we had like a small sign in the end zone for a few years, and actually they in a great relationship with them, and that their partnership team reached out to us right after the Super Bowl run where the Bengals were out at SoFi Stadium in LA, and essentially said they were looking for a naming rights partner. And, at the time it was a really, of course, exciting opportunity, but you have
Yeah.
to evaluate, does that make sense from an ROI perspective? And so my role was to create a business case and essentially evaluate if that made sense for the business to do the naming rights partnership, as well as what assets we should be negotiating to make sure we got the biggest bang for our buck as well.
Yeah.
I actually hired a third party sports agency to kind of help evaluate how many impressions should we see, what should that return look like, who's the right demographic and target audience that would see our signage and experience this as well, and then presented to the board as well as the executive committee at the time. And holistically, clearly, we agreed to move
Yeah.
forward with it. It was quite a robust process to really make sure that we had the right assets in place. And I think what's been so successful for us is that we really leaned into what those benefits were going to be. What I did not want was just, our name on the side of a building and
Right.
and then expect things, to turn around for us from an ROI perspective. And while we do have our names on the side of the building, it's a lot of places actually in the stadium, which is great to see. And even on the top when you kind of see the aerial view. But
Yeah.
what we really negotiated was more around tickets and hospitality and events. And so we have 2 suites to every game. We have field passes for prospects and customers to actually go on the field and see
Oh,
the
cool.
players practice and stretch before the game. We have like a club that essentially we can have kind of VIP tickets for when the players come out of the locker room before the game. We can see them and give them high fives before they
Oh,
go
wow.
out.
That's
We
cool.
we also host a few events at Paycor Stadium for for large groups to really bring people and to do tours and to have a great experience. And then we also have the opportunity to use tickets to all NFL games across the country. So it's not just, I think, in this Cincinnati market, but Paycor we sell across the whole country. And so it's a great
Right.
opportunity for us to engage with our prospects and customers across all of the NFL games as well. And so that has
Huh.
been really successful. I'm proud to say we're seeing a 4 to 5x return on that sponsorship as well as our others. We
Wow.
actually have 14 sports teams that Paycor sponsors across the country. So for the NFL teams, we have the Washington Commanders, the Miami Dolphins, the LA Rams, and of course the Bengals. We have NBA teams like the Dallas Mavericks, the Houston Rockets, the Chicago Bulls. We have a few MLB and NHL teams like the Cincinnati Reds, the Twins, and the St. Louis Blues hockey team. And for all of those, as I mentioned, it's been really strategic to, of course, have some signage and really lean into,
Right.
the branding elements, but also, dedicated tickets to each game. Really an opportunity for us to invite key prospects and customers to those games. I will say we don't use those a lot for associates. It's really strategic to help us invite prospects and customers that, are potentially going to purchase with us as well. And it's been a great opportunity for us to connect that dot. And then the last thing I would say is I always get this question, like, how do you actually measure it? We use Salesforce. We literally load the names of the people that we give tickets to into a
Okay.
campaign in Salesforce. And then we can see, did they end up having an appointment or close a deal after they attended that game. And that helps us track back and showcase the return on those investments as well.
So cool. I have so many questions I gotta think of how to limit. I guess my first one is, have you ever met Joe Burrow?
I have not, but I've met a lot of the other players. They are all very nice, but they're very focused, and so no, I have not personally met him. I would
I
love to, but that's okay. It's
That's
still a lot of
fine.
fun to be there,
That's so
and of course
cool.
experience it.
And then I guess another question is, how much back and forth is there? I mean, like when you're doing this, is it like these negotiations go on for months, or is it kind of
Um,
pretty
yeah, I mean, there's
straightforward, or is
definitely,
it
legal teams on both sides that get involved, a lot of kind of, T's and C's that get connected. I would say with the Bengals, it was a pretty swift process. We did it pretty quickly because we wanted to announce it before the 2022 season. And so I remember we were very much down to the wire, working weekends and nights to get it all together, working on the designs and the logos to make the big announcement in August of 2022. Each of them are different, but holistically, what I would say is that we are also making sure that all of our sports sponsorships are also customers of ours. We want to be able to showcase how they're using our services. And so it's really important that we're not just sponsoring anywhere and everywhere to put our name on it. It's important that we're
Right.
representing companies that are using our services. And we have a lot of sports teams that see the value and how we're supporting them in their HR, their taxes, their compliance, their payroll for all their athletes.
Right. Wow, that's so cool. That's gotta be, and then this was for the Bengals. I don't think they had a sponsor of the stadium before that, did they?
Yeah,
Wasn't it?
yep, they did not. Yeah, just Paul Brown. So there was no naming rights. We were the first one. So yeah, it's been really exciting
And how
for
many
sure.
years is it valid for? Whatever that
It's for 16 years. Yeah, starting in
16. Wow,
2022.
that's
Yeah.
amazing. Well, that's exciting. I could talk about that stuff all day, I guess, but it's but that's gotta be
Then we
fun.
got a win this past weekend. That was huge finally. So it's gonna
Yeah, that's
be
great. Yeah,
a good one.
congrats. That's probably makes it a lot more. Yeah, that'd be an interesting analysis to see how many wins, how many closes, like how many deals you close when they win versus when they lose. I would think it'd be better, but
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. We essentially measure how many impressions we get, which our impressions are like eyeballs, like how many people see the word Paycor on the TV or in the stadium and whatnot. And of course, like primetime games, Monday night games, Thursday night games, are huge. Unfortunately, Damar Hamlin, of course, was a huge
yeah,
event, and thank God he's doing well. I will
yeah,
say we had more impressions that week than we expected because they kept replaying and showing, that play and showing the scenes.
I
And
forgot
so it's
about
very
that.
interesting on, how much television, replays you get at these stadiums
Do
and
you
the
see
different
like a
times.
huge, like, do you ever look at the traffic like by hour or something or whatever, and then do you see like a giant spike on the weekends or like during the
Yep.
game?
Yeah, for sure. Especially the away teams, right? So for example, like when the Raiders were here last weekend for Las Vegas will shoot up because they're wondering who is Paycor. I'm going to go search them as well. So yes, we look at traffic by market. We look at impressions, and then, like I mentioned, we can also connect it back to appointments based on the people that we're utilizing our tickets for too.
Wow. So cool. Thanks for sharing all that insight. I guess switching topics just slightly or just B2B, you guys are in the B2B space, kind of similar to what I'm also in that. Most of the people I talk to on this show are in B2B. So
Yeah.
just maybe talk about B2B marketing in general. Kind of what are you seeing? What's happening with it or any kind of tips and things that you have that you've noticed being in that space that's going on.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's like the B2B world or business to business world, I think is just becoming more like a consumer world, right? The expectations of buyers in the B2B world is very similar to the consumer buyers. I feel like buyers are expecting this like Netflix and Amazon like experience, right? They want like answers right away. They want personalized content. They want suggested resources based on their actions. And we're also seeing that they're preferring not to talk to a sales rep unless they have to, especially as the
Interesting.
purchasing generation gets younger and younger. They really want to purchase or do all of their own evaluation and research themselves before they go and have that sales conversation. And I think about this a lot in, like, shopping for a car, for example. Like 10 years ago, there's no way I would have bought a car without test driving it and talking to someone and, going out on the
Right.
lot. And now it's like today, it's like, well, I'll watch a few videos on YouTube and you kind of get the same experience, and I'll just
Yeah.
buy it online and get the same price and the same, faster experience. And so that example on that consumer purchasing side, I think we're seeing it on the business to business side too. I actually was recently reading a report from Gartner, who does a lot of research for B2B.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it said like only 17% of the total purchase journey is actually spent with the seller for B2B sales. So that means like 83% of buyers already have made up their minds before they actually have that conversation with the sales rep. They're further along in that buying process. So as a marketer, myself and other marketers, like we all have to figure out how we're going to give quick answers to our buyers on our website and through all the different assets and programs that we launch. So we're talking a lot about like more online demos, free trials, pricing calculators, interactive tools that really can get them further along in that sales cycle before we pass that over to a seller as well. I think another trend I would say is that like search behaviors are also changing, right? We want answers quick And AI has
Yeah.
really made a change here, right? So like if you've been out on Google and you search something, before it would like send you to a website, a branded site where you would read and you would go to their website and get the answer you needed. Today they're using AI within that search results to actually
Yeah.
just tell you the answer right then and there. So I mean, that essentially means fewer people are going out to our websites in general from like a branded B2B perspective. And so we really have to be more personalized. We have to have more specific ways to answer those key questions, so that we can drive, more of that traffic over to our site. And it's also just important that we're showcasing our brand awareness outside of our online channels too, right? So back to the sports sponsorships, we're actually doing um, television commercials through connected TV, which essentially is through like streaming services. So if you're watching, Hulu and you see an ad right there before you can get to the episode you want, it's a great way where people are essentially going to be engaged and you can really relay that brand message through a commercial, and really just trying to find different ways to engage with audiences because of some of the changes that Google and AI has done for us. I think the
Yeah.
last trend I would say, and then of course open to any other feedback or things you're
No,
seeing as
great.
well.
Yeah, please
The
go
last
ahead.
thing I would say is that, like, and again, this is on the consumer side just as much as B2B, but like customer reviews are more important than ever. Like, I don't know about you, but like before I book any hotel or buy a
Yeah.
product on Amazon, like I'm reading those reviews, I'm
Oh,
seeing how many people reviewed it. And so customer feedback is the same in this B2B space. Like we're seeing a lot more review sites pop up. In the last few years, we've actually hired a dedicated like review and reputation management strategist on our team to really engage with the audience, answer questions, bring ideas internally to help us improve our processes and improve our services. And as well as finding ways to drive more referrals or references from customers. We're seeing that, sometimes before people want to purchase something, they want to talk to a customer that's already using it. And so we have like a
wow.
reference program we've created with, incentives and perks for customers to be a part of that and be willing to have a conversation with the prospect. And that has been, I think, really helpful to just have more of that kind of customer voice in our sales process as well.
Yeah, wow, such great thoughts there. One point I'm gonna have a guest on the show in a couple weeks. Pete Blackshaw. He's founder of a small startup in the area called BrandRank.ai. But it just reminded me because when you were talking about AI, and that's kind of what they're trying to figure out is like people, used to just go to Google and get their information. Now they're asking,
Yeah.
ChatGPT, and kind of, you it's a little bit out of your control what it says about you. Not that you had full control with Google either, but at least it gave you kind of, options, 5, 10 options, and you can kind of pick and choose. But with AI,
Yeah.
it's like giving you the answer. So you have to kind of be really, it's got to be scary in a way for marketers because you don't get to control it as much, the narrative, as much as you maybe did, before. It's something you have to probably work around, I'm guessing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and to your point, that controlling the narrative is challenging, but as much as you can, and influencing those pieces is got to be a key strategy for us as well. And AI is continuing to evolve, right? We're using it
Right.
in a lot of different ways here at Paycor and in marketing specifically, but continuing to stay close to the trends and the changes because every month there's something new and different to evaluate and test.
Yeah, it's great. I want to shift to one more, well, not maybe one more time, but shift again, talking data. You kind of already talked about it a little bit, so just love your thoughts. Being a data person myself,
Yeah.
and you kind of mentioned you have Salesforce kind of as your CRM. I would imagine it in my head just while you were saying all the different things you guys are doing. I was just picturing in my head all the different data points you guys must have. It's got to be enormous.
Yes.
Maybe just talk a little bit. What do how do you get your hands around that? What kind of stuff do you look at? What do you measure?
Yeah.
Love your
Yeah. Great
thoughts.
question. We measure really everything through the funnel, including like our awareness metrics, like impressions, as I mentioned before, traffic, site metrics like conversion rates and click rates, of course, demand gen metrics like how many marketing qualified leads, first time appointments, closed deals, average deal size, close rate, all of that. Each channel that we use also has unique metrics, right? So like if we're going to do an event or a webinar, what's the registration and attendance rates there? if we're going to do email, we're going to look at open and click-through rates. If we're going to do website metrics, it's, completion rates for demos, etc. And so, yes, we use Salesforce as far as our overall CRM, and then we use Marketo for our marketing automation. Marketo
Okay.
is the one that kind of fuels our marketing qualified leads and connects the dots holistically. But then we do have essentially a marketing operations team that really helps put together all of these data points into, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual trends for us as well. And to your point, some of that data has to live in a few different places. And so we do use Snowflake and of course BI to really analyze and bring some of those pieces together. And while Salesforce has a lot of like the in-funnel metrics, there's other outlets that provide things like the impressions, right? Google Analytics providing traffic and other on-site metrics. So it's important that you kind of have that kind of centralized operations person or team
Yeah.
that can help, summarize that information, roll that up, and then view that on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's basically what when people ask what I do and they, sometimes I get blank stares because they're like, what is business intelligence? Or, I
Yeah,
kind of tell people it's, most companies have a bunch of different systems and there's never like one that has everything, right? You're going to have a
right.
marketing system, you're going to have your financial. So that's kind of the beauty of business intelligence is it helps you kind of, reach across all of those things to get the answers that you need. So that was a great that was a great summary kind of kind of what I try to do.
Good.
So
Yeah. And that's so important to your point because, we have to make sure like our customer data is connected into the marketing data so that we can target our customers with communications, with upsell, with advocacy programs. And a lot of times I've seen where that data doesn't live in the same place as marketing data. And so to your point that, that Snowflake and BI pieces is a central opportunity for you as well for
right.
targeting and for reporting.
That's great. Yeah, I love it. So you talked earlier and you talked kind of having four parts of your team. Maybe go into a little bit more detail on, flavor of kind of what each part of your team does.
Yeah, yep. So four key teams in marketing. The first one is marketing communications. So that team is really focused on building brand awareness and driving our reputation. So they do specific advertising campaigns, so digital programming. As I mentioned, we do connected television commercials. That team is also responsible for all of our PR and press releases and all sorts of media coverage. They manage all of our events. We do hundreds of events across the country,
Yeah.
trade shows, local events, of course, sponsorship events. And then that team also manages all of our sports sponsorships too, from an awareness perspective. The second team is what we call demand generation. So this is really focused on driving leads for sales. I talked a little bit about this before. Lots of channels that fit in here. That team manages everything on our website. So everything on paycor.com, both on the paid and organic side. Lots of testing, lots of opportunities for us to optimize the website and really make those updates. They support all of our SEO and search opportunities as well. They also support all of our field marketing. So we do more local campaigns by key geographies or markets across the country, and really driving more lead generation in those key markets. And then outbound campaigns. And so national emails, we do trigger based nurtures based on industry. It's personalized based on title, based on employee size, as well as a pretty robust direct mail program as well. So lots of different channels to kind of ultimately drive leads and really convert those into closed deals as well, which of course we're measured on. The third team is customer and product marketing. So this is really focused on driving product adoption as well as just engaging with our customers throughout their entire journey with Paycor. On the product side, anytime we launch a new product, we want to make sure that we are educating the internal sales team and service teams on the product, but also really launching this from a go-to-market perspective, informing customers and prospects about it. We also ask a lot of our customers to try out or like essentially beta our products before they go to market to get feedback. So that team helps manage that. And then on the customer side, anything that changes with the customer, as far as their services or product, we're communicating through lots of different channels for them. And then that team does a lot of, community involvement when it comes to bringing our customers together.
Yeah.
We have a huge annual conference. And so really supporting bringing HR leaders that use Paycor together across the country. And then finally, we have an in-house creative services team. I kind of like to think about it as an in-house agency.
Yeah,
So that is really developing a consistent and compelling brand message and image. So that includes our content writers, that includes our designers, our web developers, and then our project managers as well.
great. Well, that was a great overview. I know you hit on it a little bit earlier too. I guess one follow-up question on what you mentioned. What's a balance between, organic versus paid? I mean, is a company of your size, I'm guessing, you have to kind of do some of both, right? Is there kind of a thought on how to
Yeah,
mix those
100%.
two?
Yeah, and it definitely depends a little bit on the size of the companies that we're targeting. So the smaller companies usually lean in more on the organic side. They're more willing to kind of search and engage and identify, on their own versus more larger companies are going to, be more from a paid perspective. So I would say that it's about, I don't know, 60-40 when it comes to kind of organic versus paid. And again, that ebbs and flows based on the audiences. The most important thing is that you don't just have one channel and one strategy. It is across the board. And as I mentioned, it's not even just digital, right? We also have, direct mail programs, events, webinars, and other ways for us to drive lead generation as well.
Right. Yeah, that's great. So balance is, I've heard that,
Yeah.
obviously with a key is balance is is the key. Sorry, I'm stumbling my
Yeah.
words, but maybe one last question just about AI. I know you mentioned a little bit about it. How much have you guys been using it, or maybe give us any kind of
Yeah.
insight
You know,
into what you're doing with it?
Yeah, it's funny. It's like back in November, I remember my head of content called me and he's like, Chat GPT just launched and this is going to be a game changer. And it's been a year now and it really
Yeah.
has in a lot of ways, but of course it's still evolving and that's just one portion of AI. We're really using it a lot in
Right.
creative services and also in like our digital advertising and website personalization. So from a like content perspective, like it's helping assist us with like creating everything from like a social post to case studies, first drafts of things that really help us get started on what that looks like and then iterating from there, of course, with the content team. Adobe AI is really helping us streamline some of our design workflows and automated like image editing. So that's really been helpful and quick for us. We also use AI for more like targeting and advertising. So Google has value-based bidding that really kind of optimizes ROI and for our spend. And then it also helps us really identify and prioritize the high potential accounts, that we're seeing from intent data analysis as well. So we want to make sure we're targeting the right people. AI is helping us to do that. And then it's also helping us on really dynamic website personalization. So, like, essentially analyzing visitors' data and then, like, delivers like tailored content experiences on the website as well for them as well.
Oh,
So,
cool.
I think more to come. We're continuing to research. I'm eager to hear. You said you're interviewing someone else with an AI,
Yeah.
company. I'm all ears on new and different ways to consider and use it.
Oh, great. Yeah, I think we're all trying to figure this out together, right?
Yes.
It's a new frontier. So, lastly, I wanted to talk about, I know you have a fundraiser that you support coming up. I think it's called the Go Red. Is that right? Go Red fundraiser.
Yeah.
Tell us
Yeah.
about
Well,
that and how you got involved in it.
yeah, thank you. The fundraiser is really to support the American Heart Association, and it's really to support and fight, the awareness that's needed when it comes to heart disease. I became involved in the American Heart Association probably 4 years ago. My father actually had two heart attacks in his life. I think I was
Wow.
18 when he had his first one in his 40s, which is crazy to think about. He had another
Right.
one in 2020, right when COVID hit. And unfortunately, I did lose him in
I'm
2021 to
sorry.
for health condition challenges. And so it's been a really big focus of me, for myself to really drive passion around more awareness. It's just kind of crazy because, you don't realize it, but like 1 in 3 deaths every year occurs because of heart disease. And that's for men and women.
Wow.
And specifically, even on like from a women perspective, like 45% of women over 20 years old are living with some sort of cardiovascular disease. And so I'm really, striving to drive more awareness on people to know your numbers, to go to your doctor and check your heart and to check your health, but also like learned how to do CPR. We actually had this
Mhm.
great event with the Heart Association at Paycor Stadium a month or two ago. And I brought my kiddos with me, but we all were able to be on the field and learn how to do CPR and also learn how to use an AED if, of course, the unfortunate event
Right.
happens that someone needs to use it. And so this fundraiser is really to help drive awareness and funds for research to support the Heart Association. And we actually have a big event in Cincinnati. It's at Great American Ballpark in April that I'm really excited about. It essentially is an opportunity for us to bring together people out at Great American and build networking opportunities. You can learn how to do CPR on the baseball field, which is a ton of fun, and really just helping to educate on heart health. That is on Friday, April 25th. So if anyone is interested in joining that, it is going to be a really fun event to, of course, learn more about CPR and supporting heart disease challenges, but also, coming together as a community as well.
Well, that's great. Yeah, I mean, it's what a better place. That's amazing. Like you were talking earlier about the Damar Hamlin. That
Exactly.
he was,
Yeah.
that's he witnessed it firsthand and saved his life. So that's amazing. You're involved in that, and yeah, we'll definitely put the link in the event here, and any other events that or any other links that people can use to be involved. But thanks, Tiffany, so much for your time. This was amazing, and best of success and in all your endeavors at Paycor. And thank you so much, everybody, for watching. And we'll see you next time. Thanks again.
Thank you so much. See you later.
Bye bye.